I was kind of stuck leaning against the wall, and I was stuck watching them, and they would grab my stuff from the shelf and my brother's stuff and just drop it on the ground. And they were looking at me
What?
to see if I saw that, and then they would do it again and knock it off. And then one would try to put it in their pocket, and it would fall through them onto the ground.
So, guys, we just had something very interesting happen, which is not supposed to happen, but apparently it did. And we're going to talk about it for a second before we continue. But something happened with your equipment. Can you tell the audience what happened?
Yeah, so I lost audio on my Shure mic. I had my Audacity app running perfectly fine on my laptop when all of a sudden it said my disk was full. What's interesting is that I created more space on my disk drive. Plus, I have a portable drive put also stored in here too. So I have plenty of space, but yet I can't export. I can't save it. I can't do anything with it. It's just really strange, but at the same time, doesn't surprise me because there's stuff like this that always happens when you're in this line of work, when you do this kind of stuff. You know, it's an obstacle that I face pretty often. I mean, this one being new. I mean, I just literally got this, and everything was running fine, and then all of a sudden we were getting a lot of messages through the Ovilus, and then I lost audio. I'm just glad that I have audio backed up right now, and we're able to move on. Thank God for that.
Yeah, thank goodness for your intuition on that one. Thank goodness. That was so smart. Make a note of, so when you're talking about your audio, you're referring to, because you were using Audacity, which is also what I use for
Yep.
connecting the Shure mic, and you just got your Shure mic, which is so great for you for your channel, and it's just an awesome mic. It's wonderful. Anyone who dogs a Shure mic doesn't understand how
Yeah.
amazing these mics are.
They're really,
No, they're seriously some of the best mics. This is not a typical thing, even with a Shure mic or when you use Audacity, because I've been using mine for a year and I've never had this kind of issue that he's having. And I'm
yeah.
still, even now, not having this issue, but you are. And even right now, I'm getting dizzy again. And you were even saying it too, that you were getting dizzy earlier. I want to talk about this video clip. But before I continue talking about that and before we hear your side of it, I want to give the audience a chance to go ahead and watch this clip. This is completely authentic, 1000%. Here's the clip.
Selenite, you don't have to worry about that absorbing too much negative energy because you actually use that crystal to actually recharge your crystals. Yeah. Weather's been getting pretty crazy. Hello. That was me, huh? No? What's up? Didn't you heard that right? Yeah. Like, hello. Crazy. Hello. Crazy. Hello. Crazy. Hello.
This is insane. I mean, the information that you caught is unbelievable. It was insane. What was going on? What did you feel? Any energies? What was happening? And who was the person that was with you during this experience? And did he ever experience something like this before? Did you ever experience this before?
Charles, when he came, that was his first time being live with me. It was both of our first time being live. And, you know, I thought, what better way to go live for the first time ever but to bring Pam in live and see how Pam reacts to the public live on camera. Interesting, you know, act, you know, that Pam would do to move something like a selenite stick live in front of the world. I wasn't expecting anything like that. I thought maybe like I would catch a disembodied voice maybe through the EVP recorder, getting movement of a physical object, I mean, I couldn't ask for more. That was insane. I wasn't expecting that, so that definitely was a gold mine capture. And Charles Scipio being there with me, I'm just really glad that he was there with me to experience this with me. I was feeling very clammy, as if the humidity levels kept changing. It was only happening with me, so I don't know if it was trying to channel with me. So it started with my hands. My hands will get really clammy, and I remember Charles was like, he's like, it's okay. He's like, I'm nervous too, like, because we're live, right? And
Yeah.
and I was like, no, I don't think it's because of that. Like, I was like, this is usually a sign that I get, like, when these types of beings or spirits, demons, whatever, I'll get certain types of signs, whether it's cold drafts, humidity changes, temperature rises. These are all signs, right, of
Hmm.
manifestations. I was keeping mental notes of that, and eventually I just had to announce it to live the viewers. I'm like, I'm feeling clammy, and something is trying to like mess with me. And I kept feeling like flustered a little bit, like kind of like, all over the place, even though I really wasn't or shouldn't be. And I kept getting hot, so the temperatures kept rising. And as well as that temperature rising that's that devil energy trying to make me flustered and stressed, was using that to mess with me live, so I would drip sweat or something, like, oh my gosh, I'm panicking. It wanted that out of me. My awareness like went up the roof, and I knew right then that I something was manipulating the temperatures around me.
A lot of people don't know that in paranormal activity situations. They always think that when it gets really, really cold, that's when
Yeah,
paranormal activity happens. That's not
yeah,
always the case. When the temperature rises, I have noticed that it is more of demonic energy, and it
yeah,
comes from the fire of hell. It comes from that hot energy. And
yeah,
it's also because, and I'm just remembering this as well, even in magic, they use the elemental energy of heat and fire for manifestation properties. So there is a lot of magic also involved in these
yeah,
types of manifestation motions towards what they're trying to make happen on this physical plane. Okay, there's another thing that I want to bring up is the selenite didn't just move; it was also the doll's head. But it wasn't Pam; it was this other doll. What was the other doll that moved?
yeah. Laura,
Laura.
the Jester doll head. It's a Jester doll's head on a pedestal that is attached to a music box that rotates. Now, here's the interesting thing is people would say, well, if it rotates, the music, so maybe it was rotating because the music thing was twisted just a little bit. No, I always make sure that thing is like completely done playing the music. Second off, when that thing rotates, it plays in one specific direction. The direction that it turned was the opposite direction it should be rotating if the music was playing. And even the amount of space that it moved, it would have played like a couple notes.
It would have, and I thought
Yeah,
about that too. I was like, it would have moved and it would have played the music if it
right.
was to do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very good point. So even
So,
that's even debunked. That's a very
yeah,
good point.
I've seen toys go off when I was a child. I've seen like little Tiger handheld games when I was a kid playing by itself in front of me when I was a kid. Um,
What?
yeah, and
Oh
like
my
you could hear
god.
like those little Tiger handheld games were very loud too, and they were
Yeah.
playing in the dark in the room. Yeah, like I would look at it on the ground and I'm like, I'm just gonna ignore that
I'll be in my bedroom, making no noise and pretending that I don't exist.
and just like you could look away until it just would stop eventually. I wouldn't even want to turn it off. I just let it do its thing and I just try to ignore it.
Live your
But
best life. That's what I tell it.
yeah,
Do your thing.
yeah,
Beat the game for me.
right. I think one of the creepiest things about that doll, besides it moving towards the camera, was when I'm approaching my front door from the outside and I could hear her music playing in my living room.
How often has that happened?
It's two times. So it's happened when I was approaching my apartment door and hearing the music playing temporarily. It didn't play for a long time, but it played long enough for me to hear it played for at least a good 8 seconds or so. The next time it happened, it played for like a second and a half, and that was when I started walking away from my books in the dark.
That's an intelligent spirit at that point, because
Yeah.
even for it to time to make sure that in the timing that the second you arrived at your door,
Yeah,
that
to
it
start
played the
playing.
music for you to notice that music playing, for you to hear it. That's an intelligent spirit. It wasn't like a random thing. It
No,
clearly
not
happened intentionally at that moment. I don't know if this makes sense, but I suddenly just saw this in my head. Weird. I could be wrong here, but for some reason, did you ever have an instance where something with your books or with your or something in your shelves, did anything like fall off or move at one point?
Yeah, when I was a child, I used to get kind of tormented by these creatures that would crawl up my wall. It would start off from the darkest corners of my room, and this black mass would start forming. It would just get bigger and just get bigger and darker, and eventually it would split. It would start coming down, moving. Now that you bring it up, this black mass turned into two separate masses, and then it started going down towards the ground level, but then they started having bodies, like more humanoid looking bodies, like little shadow things, and they were about 4 feet to 5 feet tall, like I would say between there. And they started climbing the walls, but they started having more sinister features, like skinny arms with long fingers, and they were just black, and they were crawling on the walls, and then they would look over at me, right? They would look like like kind of like you could see me, like, and they were
Yeah.
like looking, and I was like in a paralysis. I was just stuck. I was halfway sitting up. My back was kind of like tilted against the wall because I started like I was looking at them, but once they started seeing that I could see them, I couldn't move anymore. And
Mm.
like I was paralyzed, and
Mhm.
I couldn't talk, I couldn't do anything but move my eyes. And my back was hurting because the way it was positioned, I remember that. I was kind of stuck leaning against the wall, and I was stuck watching them, and they would grab my stuff from the shelf and my brother's stuff and just drop it on the ground. And they were looking at me
What?
to see if I saw that, and then they would do it again and knock it off. And then one would try to put it in their pocket, and it would fall through them onto the ground like they were trying to steal stuff. The one that was on the right side, closer to my bunk bed, I'm on the top bunk, my brother's on the bottom bunk, crawls
Yeah.
down and crawls up on my bed, and I could feel the bed moving from it going on the bed, and then it goes on the bed and goes over me, and then starts ripping chunks of his face off right in front of me. And
Oh
that's when
my God.
I broke out of the sleep paralysis, or this paralyzed moment, and broke through it and literally launched myself off the bed and like damn near hurt myself jumping off the bunk bed, and ran to my parents' room banging on their door. And then when
Holy
I told my
cow.
parents, they said, "You need to go back to bed. You're seeing stuff because you're tired." And I was kind of trying to believe that as a kid, trying to understand, like, maybe my parents are right. Maybe I just am seeing things. But then I look back in my room, and I can't see anything. It's just black. Like there's just, my room was just total darkness, and I should be able to see some stuff from the moonlight, and it was just black, and I could hear simultaneous voices whispering me to come back in there, and like those conversations like of hella whispering, and I'm like, and I
Oh
slept
my
right in front
God.
of my parents' room in the hallway the whole night. I slept on the ground until the sun came up. That experience, I was probably like 9.
I mean, it sounds almost like shadow people, because I've heard about shadow people doing things like that. A lot of the times they are pretty short. They're about 5 foot or so, which is kind of funny because I'm 5 foot, so I'm like, oh, that's my height. So, but I've heard of stories, and I've actually encountered some, not necessarily in my home, but like in astral projection experiences. They're very combative like that, and they'll do all kinds of things. I don't know if that was a shadow person, though. This is not a formal reading, is what I'm trying to say. But at the same time, from what I'm hearing, like the fact that it even crawled onto you just to rip its face off in front of you as a child. And that's what's so sad, is because these kinds of experiences happen to children, and a lot of the times people think their children are acting out and they're being problematic or they're being misbehaving, but they don't realize like how much these kids are actually, it's a cry for help, because how are they going to tell an adult this?